My next guest, I am so excited about this, served as an election protection attorney in Pennsylvania in the 2020 election, and he has previously served on the Democratic National Committee's National Lawyers Council and the Minority Voting Rights Committee. He was an electoral poll monitor for the Obama campaign in Philadelphia in 2012 and an electoral poll monitor for the Clinton campaign in Broward County, Florida. During the 2016 U.S. presidential election, he has also argued and won an appeal of a court order protecting voters' rights in New Jersey on Election Day 2006. Oh, he's really. I feel so honored to have this gentleman with us today. He is attorney Richard C. Bell, and he's been practicing law in New York City for more than 30 years. He graduated from Duke, magna cum laude, and received his Juris Doctorate from Rutgers University School of Law. Hi, Attorney Richard Bell. Welcome to the show. How are you today?
Oh, Perri, it's really my honor, especially you invited me back a number of times. Thank you so much.
Oh, well, you're a good one. You are a good one. So let's just get to the meat and potatoes. So Donald Trump has been setting up this false narrative about the mail-in ballots being fraudulent, and he didn't say that in 2020 when he won the election by a smidgen, and we weren't happy.
Of course not. Sure.
Right. We weren't happy that he won the vote, but you know what? We accepted it. We moved on. It looks like he thinks, and I'm not a legalese at all, but does he have the right to ask the Supreme Court to get involved with this? And I want to know who the lawyers are around him, because they're not too bright. Doesn't this have to go through state by state? This is a state issue.
Perri, you may not be a lawyer, but you got it all right.
Okay.
So terrific job, because first of all, there's a path to the Supreme Court. Mm-hmm. You have to have specific challenges to ballots. It has to be a tight race, and it has to go through the state or federal court system to get up to the Supreme Court. So no, he can't pick up the phone and say, I'm coming over across the street to the Supreme Court and you count the ballots. Doesn't work like that. So yes, totally false narrative. So that we just gotta throw that out. And if people remember Bush versus Gore, it took over a month to get to the Supreme Court because it had to go through all the other stages first.
All right then. So this is another concern. So when I saw this image of these, these white Trump supporters going into where they were counting the votes in Wayne County, they might as well had ropes and tiki lights or something.
100% vigilantes and hooligans.
Right.
I couldn't agree with you more.
Vigilantes and hooligans. Are we treading dangerous waters right now when people are walking down this, like a Trump son, when they're talking about stop counting the votes? Is that a democracy?
That is not a democracy, and I'll give credit even to the secretaries of state and election officials who are Republicans in the states. Mm-hmm. Virtually all of them that I have seen came out and said, we will count the vote, we will count it fairly, and then we will certify the vote. And if there's a challenge to our certified results, it will go through the process. So that is the process. Hooliganism, vigilanteism. I don't know if you remember in 2000, the Republicans literally broke into the vote counting polling area to try to intimidate the people in South Florida who were counting the votes.
Right.
Kind of changed the whole tone. But here in Detroit, you had a city attorney who really had guts because he stood up, he got the police to come in, and he said, those that haven't behaved, that actually have credentials, are out of here, and those without credentials, we have the police here. You're not coming in.
All right. So based on all of your experience, tell our listeners what you want us to know about what is going on here. It's better than me asking questions. You just tell us what we should know be vigilant about what we're going to see and experience in the next week, next 2 weeks. Just take it away, Attorney Bell.
Okay, my pleasure. So here's where we are. We basically have 4 key states we should be concerned about for litigation, and 2 others maybe. So the 4 key states right now would be Pennsylvania, Georgia, Wisconsin, Michigan, and maybe later Nevada, Arizona. Obviously, it all depends on Trump, if Trump comes back or not, or Biden holds them, because that's going to determine it. Mm-hmm. So here's the issues. Number 1, Pennsylvania. So if Pennsylvania does not, Biden doesn't get it, but it's looking better. Philly's coming in good so far.
Okay.
But if Pennsylvania goes the other way and it goes to Trump, what he's going to do is go try to get back for the 3rd time to the Supreme Court. He lost the first 2 times when he said that the Pennsylvania Supreme Court ruling that it's okay to count ballots for 3 days after Election Day as long as they're postmarked by Election Day.
Right.
The problem is the conservative justices, the dissenters, especially Alito, and he literally said, "Well, you know what? I think it's unconstitutional under the federal Constitution. I don't really care what their interpretation of the state Constitution is." So if that case ever goes up, that's going to be a fight. Mm-hmm. Now, the good legal argument is, wait a second. You ruled on this already, and the voters of Pennsylvania relied on your ruling that it was okay as long as it got postmarked, so they just followed the law. How do you take away somebody's right to vote now after you told them it was okay?
Wow. And that happened in the federal courts?
That one actually started in the state court in Pennsylvania, went up to their highest court, and then the Supreme Court, the first time 4-4, Roberts joined us and said, I'm going to uphold the Pennsylvania Supreme Court that it's okay to have the extension. Came back a second time, and the Supreme Court said, you know what, it's just too close to the election this time, so we're not even going to consider it.
Wow.
But Alito tipped his hand, and he said, this. Basically he's saying in English, if this comes back, I'm going the other way. Now, we have obviously Justice Barrett there, too. We didn't have the last time. So that will concern me. However, it depends, of course, on how many votes came in, because if that's the issue, how many votes came in, within 3 days after the election. Does that make a difference anyway?
But postmarked.
Yes, postmarked on Election Day. Yes, absolutely. But, Perri, I don't have to say this to you and your audience. None of us trust the Supreme Court, obviously.
Right.
So it may or may not be done right. I know Justice Roberts, as conservative as he is, my feel is he does not want to be known as the Roberts Court that took away an election. He's an institutionalist. As conservative as he is, he doesn't like to be controversial. He doesn't have to be. But he doesn't have a choice now, because now it's 6-3, right? Even his vote only makes it 5-4.
Right.
So that concerns me in Pennsylvania, but the concern would only be if it were very tight and those votes made a difference. Legally, I think we have the much better argument, but as we know from Bush versus Gore, whether you have the best argument or not is not always the test. Now, the second state, Georgia, where it's just getting tighter and tighter and tighter, and there's a possibility of Biden margin, they already started a suit about Savannah, where Trump claims that there were 50-plus vote-by-mail ballots that only count if you arrive by 7 p.m. on Election Day, and they claim they saw somebody put them in the wrong pile and that they got counted, and the Elections Board says, I don't know what you're talking about. This is their strategy. You throw out everything you can throw out.
Right.
They rarely come up with the evidence. It's like the whole time they were litigating before the election, and they talked about this myth of voter fraud, and every judge, conservative or liberal, said, okay, show me the evidence. They never came up with it, because that's what they do. They bluff. And so they're going to make a challenge in Georgia if Biden wins and start saying there were these kind of irregularities. They're going to have to show the evidence, obviously.
All right, so let me ask you this real quick, because this whole idea of voter fraud, I don't understand how President Trump can keep saying this because based on the stories.